The main character is an old man, Peter, who has a love for exploring. Every weekend he sets out in search of sights and wonders. During one of his usual weekend expeditions, Peter decides to explore an old and mysterious cave deep within a wooden ravine. As he enters the cave, he notices something extraordinary, something that both excites and scares him at the same time. Peter finds himself in an enormous chamber, illuminated by a small sunbeam. There, scattered across the rocky floor, are the corpses of German soldiers from World War II and the rusted remains of their equipment. Against the far wall are several helmets, weapons, and a few bags filled with what seems like ammunition and maps. The sign of discovery is staggering for Peter. He knows he must tell someone of his find, but he also knows it could bring him bad luck. He is confused and unsure what to do. He begins to slowly make his way out of the cave, clutching his discovery tightly in his hands. As Peter ascends the step path out of the ravine, he finds himself surrounded by a group of shady characters. It quickly becomes clear to him that they are the descendants of the German soldiers whose remains he had just discovered. They demand to know why he has disturbed their rest and insist that he gives them the rusted remains he had taken from the cave. Peter knows he has to comply with their demands if he wants to stay alive. He quickly hands them the rusted equipment he had found and manages to get away safely. As he flees the scene, he can't help but feel the weight of his bad luck following him. Back in his hometown, Peter knows he can't tell anyone of his discovery from the cave, but he is still haunted by his experience. He finds himself getting paranoid and depressed, and soon becomes convinced that he is being followed and watched. He knows that descendants of the German soldiers are out there somewhere looking for him. Peter's only salvation seems to be finding out more about the soldiers whose remains he had found in the cave. He begins doing some research and eventually discovers a lot of information on the German unit that was located in the area during World War II. However, nothing he finds mentions that the cave or even the existence of the soldiers' remains. Months have passed, and Peter's life has become strange and consumed by his fear. All of his efforts to discover the truth have failed, and he now finds himself feeling helpless and alone. That is, until he receives a letter from an old woman living in South America. The woman claims to be the daughter of one of the German soldiers whose remains Peter had found in the cave. She explains that she is the only one who knows the truth about her father and his unit, and provides Peter with all the details about their disappearance and their unmarked graves. Within this newfound information, Peter begins to understand why his experience in the cave had brought him such bad luck. He now knows that the soldier descendants had been searching for the truth, and his discovery of their remains had put him in danger. Realizing the courage of her father, the elderly woman in South America, and the heroic deeds of his unit, Peter now has the strength he needs to confront his fear. He visits the descendants of the German soldiers and tells them of his discovery in the cave and the truth about their fathers. The descendants are moved by Peter's revelation, and they finally accept that their fathers are really gone. In the end, Peter's courage and perseverance have paid off. By sharing the truth with them, he can now move on with his life, liberated from the bad luck that had followed him for so long. Peter is finally able to put his fear and paranoia behind him. He watches the landscape around the old cave and takes in the deep tranquility of the ravine. He feels relieved, liberated, and inspired by his adventure. Peter ponders the courage and strength that he has now found within himself, and his thoughts turn to the bravery of the German soldiers whose remains he had discovered in the cave. He finds solace in the fact that, although his discovery had brought him bad luck, it had also given him the opportunity to reflect on the courage of those who had gone before him. No matter what happened, Peter knew that he had the courage within himself to overcome any challenges that life brought him. With a newfound sense of strength, Peter continues to explore, determined to find new wonders and discover more courage and strength inside himself.